How good will the Las Vegas Raiders defense be in 2022? This was a defense that was kind of underrated last year. I know that it got off to a pretty slow start, but late in the season, around November, this defense played really well. And we talk about what the offense did. The offense wasn't all that great. As a matter of fact, this defense kept the offense in a good amount of games. So going into this year, I think that this may be one of the best defenses that the Raiders have put on paper in a very long time. And I can't remember the last time I can recall the Raiders having a defense that was remotely close to being as talented as the one that they have right now. Then on top of that, you have defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, which I'm really jealous because I wanted the Pittsburgh Steelers to get him. And he ended up going to Las Vegas, which caught many people off guard. I was saying, okay, he's going to be with Josh McDaniels. And that kind of says a lot about Josh McDaniels as a head coach. Because remember, he got a lot of flack for what happened with Indianapolis. He originally was going to take that job, but then he backed out at the last minute, ended up staying as the OC for New England. So many people were a little bit skeptical. But the fact that he was able to get Patrick Graham kind of shows you that, hey, man, there are some people out there who are believers in Josh McDaniels. You look at Patrick Graham, you can't go off what happened last year with the defense that he had with the New York Giants. Okay, don't do that. The Giants' offense was a mess. They were going through and out every single possession. They couldn't sustain drives. On top of that, Daniel Jones got injured, so they had guys off the street playing quarterback. So when your defense is on the field for that many plays and that many snaps, of course, it's not going to be all that great. They're going to get tired. They're going to get gassed. And unless you have elite depth, it's going to be extremely hard to have a serviceable defense. But if you go back to 2020, that was a phenomenal defense that Patrick Graham had put on the field for the New York Giants. And his defensive philosophy, he loves to run a lot of different sets. He throws a lot of different things at you. He runs a multiple defense, which means that he's not, locked into a 3-4 defense or whatnot. He can change his defense within anytime necessary during games. So with him running a multiple defense, you got to have versatile players that can do a different amount of things. And when you look at this defensive line, it's really explosive. You have guys who can play inside, outside, and not only do you have a lot of versatility on this defensive line, but you have monsters. You have guys who are big and take up a lot of space, and not only that, but they're super explosive. You have Nichols, Jonathan Hankins, Vernon Butler, Andrew Billings. Then rookie Matthew Butler was drafted in the 5th round out of Tennessee from this past year's NFL draft, 6'4", 297 pounds. Like I said, with the other defensive linemen that the Raiders currently have, he's versatile. He's capable of playing every position on the D-line. He has a really good technique. He has really good hands. And on top of that, he's quick off the edge. And you wouldn't really think that somebody who's 6'4", 297 pounds could play on the edge and have good quickness, but he does. He moves phenomenally well for his size. And not just him, but you also have another rookie who they drafted in the round before him, Neil Farrell out of LSU. He's 6'4", 330 pounds. This guy is a gap clogger. I call him a refrigerator protector, because the dude is just massive and he just takes up so much space. And he's probably not going to give you much when it comes to pass rush, and neither is Matthew Butler. But really, you're bringing these guys in to help you against the run. You're looking for somebody who can just clog up those gaps and make it hard to find those running lanes. And for Neil Farrell and Matthew Butler, they do that. Neil Farrell is a bully. That's the only way to describe him. If you go and you watch his LSU tape, he's pushing guys around. He's mauling guys. I forgot what game it was, but he literally just, I don't know what it is when a defensive lineman runs over an offensive lineman. I know they don't call it pancake, but he just put an offensive lineman on his back. I forgot what game it was, but he's a bully. He plays a lot of bully ball. He's also really quick and has a lot of explosiveness as well. He consistently is able to get off double teams, but he's not going to be that much of a factor in passing situations, and neither is Matthew Butler. However, these are going to be two rookies who you might see a good amount of in short yardage situations, such as 3rd and inches or inside of the red zone, on the goal line. I'm really excited about this Raiders defensive line. It may not have tons of flash, but you do have guys who are really good against the run, and you do have a couple of players who can give you a little bit when it comes to pass rush. But mainly, your pass rush is going to come from Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones. Maxx Crosby is coming off his first ever Pro Bowl appearance. He had 8 sacks last year. Then you pair him up with Chandler Jones, who had 10.5 sacks. He's coming off a Pro Bowl season as well. And there was some question marks about Chandler Jones last season with the Arizona Cardinals because I believe he was coming off an injury. Arizona, that's kind of why they were hesitant to come to the table with a new contract for him. So he ends up signing with the Raiders, and you trade away Yannick Ngakoue. And I think that this is an upgrade because don't let the age fool you. I just got done talking about Von Miller. When you have a player that is a Hall of Fame caliber player, such as a Von Miller, a Chandler Jones, and whatnot, they regress at a slower rate than normal. So just because he's in his 30s, don't let that fool you. This is somebody who's still going to end up putting up double-digit sack numbers. Chandler Jones shouldn't have nowhere worse than 8 sacks this season, which is still good. Because then you have Maxx Crosby. Maxx Crosby could definitely end up having 10 sacks. And Maxx Crosby, man, I mean, where do you rank him amongst some of the best pass rushers in the game? Because Maxx Crosby, not too many people know how good he really is. I mean, the dude, his rookie season after coming out of Eastern Michigan, had 10 sacks. And he wasn't even a first-round pick. He was a mid-round selection. So for Maxx Crosby, the guy has been one of the most consistent pass rushers that we have in the NFL. He's been putting up phenomenal numbers ever since he was a rookie. Then, this is where the big question is going to be for me. Linebacker. You have Denzel Perryman, who kind of came out of nowhere. He made it to his first ever Pro Bowl. It took him a while. But the thing with Denzel Perryman has never really been talent. It really has just been, can he stay healthy? And even then, I don't even think he played every single game last year. But he played enough that he was good enough, and he was able to make it to the Pro Bowl. He had 154 tackles. The dude is a machine. But after him, I don't really know what the Raiders' plans are going to be at linebacker. You signed Jayon Brown in free agency. He's played with the Tennessee Titans over the last couple of seasons. He's really good against the run. You also can send him on blitzes, but he struggles in pass coverage, and his play has kind of deteriorated over the last 2 years. You also have Divine Diablo, Michael Kaiser, Kenny Young. So I don't really know how that other linebacker spot is going to look. But, I mean, you do have some guys who do have some promise there. Many people expect Jayon Brown to end up winning that other inside linebacker spot. But I don't really know what to expect from the linebackers this year. At cornerback is probably where many people's concerns are going to lie. But believe it or not, I feel pretty confident about the Las Vegas Raiders cornerbacks going into 2022. And that may shock many of you guys because I have made a lot of jokes about the Raiders defense over the last couple of years, especially when it comes to their secondary. They just draft corners every year and they never work out, it seems like. But this is a pretty good group they have. You have Trayvon Mullen, who only played in 5 games last year due to injuries. He probably has been their best cornerback for the last couple of years. He's been pretty solid. Not the greatest. You get what I'm saying? Not saying that he played at an elite level or whatnot, but I think he's been pretty solid. You have Anthony Everett, who you picked up in free agency. He was the Baltimore Ravens' best cornerback last year. As a matter of fact, that was the best year of his NFL career up to this point. So you have him. You have Rocky Ya-Sin. Then the player who I'm the most excited about out of this whole entire defense is slot cornerback Nate Hobbs. When the Raiders drafted Nate Hobbs, I was so excited. This is probably the only cornerback that they have drafted out of the last couple of years that has actually worked out outside of Trayvon Mullen. 51 tackles, 3 pass deflections, an interception, a sack, and a forced fumble. Last year as a rookie, he was one of the best slot corners in the game. As a matter of fact, I don't even think he gave up a touchdown. If he did, it might have only been 1 touchdown, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't give up a single touchdown, but I could be wrong. But Nate Hobbs was phenomenal. I love Nate Hobbs. This is somebody who can come up, lay the lumber on you. He just makes plays, man. Every time I watched the Raiders play, he was always somewhere around the football. I love Nate Hobbs, man. I think that he could end up being really special, man. I'm really excited about him. I might have to end up making a segment about him in the next couple of weeks, man, because I'm a big fan of Nate Hobbs. He was one of my favorite players when he was coming out of the draft out of Illinois. Really underrated. This is one of the few defensive backs that the Las Vegas Raiders have been able to hit on in the past. At safety, you have Jonathan Abrams. I don't really know how I feel about Jonathan Abrams, man. And even when he got drafted, I wasn't really a huge fan because I just thought that, okay, yeah, he's good in run support, but I mean, where's the pass coverage at? And that's kind of has been the thing that he struggled with is pass coverage. You have Trayvon Mullen, Tyree Gillespie. So the safety position, it's TBD. It's to be decided. But your cornerback position is probably the best that it's been in a very long time. This defense definitely is going to be improved, and I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a top 10 unit, man. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that, but with the fact that you have one of the more innovative defensive coordinators in the game in Patrick Graham and the versatility that he loves to have on defense, having multiple guys who can play several positions. You also have somebody who can change his scheme in somewhat because he runs a multiple defense, as I mentioned earlier. So that means he can change from a 3-4 to a 3-3-5, whatever he feels he needs to run to win the game. He wants that kind of versatility. He wants to be able to do that. And I really love the fact that they were able to pick him up. But I do think that this defense may take a while to get going. It could end up having some early season struggles because he runs a pretty complex defense. I was listening to an interview a couple of months ago by Logan Ryan. He was on The Herd, and he was talking about Patrick Graham, and he was talking about the complexity of his defense. It's not an easy defense to pick up. You really have to take some time to learn this defense. It's a lot of small nuances in it, and that's why I love Patrick Graham so much, because he's a head coach that pays attention to the details, and details are really important because when you have coaches who pick up on the small details, those small things end up building up, and that's how you end up having a really great defense. So if you're a Raiders fan, you should be really excited about this defense going into the upcoming 2022 NFL season, because this could possibly be the best defense that the Raiders have put on the field in a very long time. I can't remember the last time Las Vegas had a top 10 defense, but I know it's been well over a decade. So let me know how you guys, Raider Nation, are feeling about this defense heading into the upcoming 2022 NFL season down in the comment section down below.